Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, I got some comments recently asking me if I would do a tier list for every single legendary in the game. Now that would be a very long video, and I thought, hey, you know what we'll do instead? Let's simply break it up into the different affinities. So in today's video, we're going to be going through all of the magic affinity legendaries in the game. That's right, every single one. I'm putting them into a tier list, seeing what I think. And yeah, hopefully it should be a pretty good time. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoy. And of course, stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed and all of that for the other affinities coming soon. So let's dive in. First of all, Lord Champfort is our first legendary. Lord Champfort, not a great legendary to be honest. I'm probably actually going to put him into the C tier. He has some use as a mischief tank. He's got a kind of unique passive with a small version of speed on it. I use him in Iron Twins, to be fair, but I genuinely don't think he's actually that useful. Next up, we have Cythalia. Cythalia is an interesting champion. She's a really good single target heal with a 2-turn cooldown on her A2, but I guess her A3 is a bit funky with the buff cleanse. I don't know. She's either B or A. I'm going to put her in B for now. We might move her as we go further. Next up then is Killian the Lucky. Now, I don't have this champion, but I'm certainly interested in him after his buff recently. For me, I think he's definitely a B champion. I'm going to put him into B for now, Killian. Yeah, I don't know. After testing him, maybe he go up into A, just because he's got a cool passive giving him a lot of buffs. I think for live arena, it could be kind of good. I don't know, though. Sigmund is up next. Sigmund the High Shield. Sigmund is 100% an A-tier champion for me. Just brings that big shielding and strength in. He's got the AoE decrease attack and provoke. Very nice little skill set there. Great for Hydra. Just get great protection. Great carry champion. Yeah, I think he's really good. And then finally, Rhonda. And this one, again, is another big question. Rhonda is either A, arguably S tier. Overall, it's just a huge single target damage dealer with multi-hit attacks. Maybe we'll put Rhonda into S for now. Let's leave her in S for now. Maybe we'll demote her later after we see some of the others. Right, next then, we've got the High Elves. We have Elenaro. Let's actually do all of these together. Pixneal and Alexander. What do we think of these? So, for me, Elenaro first is definitely an S tier champion with that poison explosion. There's very few champions in the game that do poison explosion. It's super valuable, and affinity has a big effect. Pixneal, on the other hand, got a decent skill set, but man, she takes so many books to actually be useful. I'm going to put her in the C tier of being like, okay, kind of useful, but there's probably plenty of other champs that can do sort of things that she does. She's got a really good passive. Maybe she should go up into B because of her passive. I'm going to leave her in C just because it takes so many legendary books for her to be useful. It's certainly questionable. Oops, I've moved the wrong person. Here we go. I'm supposed to be Alexander. Alexander, he's definitely like a C tier. He does good damage, maybe even D tier. As in, he does good damage, but he takes a bunch of legendary books. Is it really worthwhile? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put Alexander in D. Yeah, sorry to Alexander. My bad, but it's just the way it is. Next up, we've got Roshkard, Orvis, Astralon, and Halsring. These are the legendaries from the Sacred Order. What do we think of these? Roshkard. With the block damage stuff, he probably goes into A just because of block damage and opening up unkillable teams and so on. Obviously, Helikath is better, but I think Roshkard needs to go into A because of that. Orvis, I think, also goes into A as well, especially with Hard Dragon. I think he's very good for that dungeon, very good for Demon Lord Clan Boss, that sort of stuff. So he probably should be in A. Astralon, I'm going to be very unpopular here. I'm going to put Astralon in B. You guys know I do hate on Astralon a good bit. He's a good damage dealer. You know, he's decent, but he's not really standing out to me in any big way. He does have the AoE stun, but you might have to build him for no damage if you're going to use that. He's okay. He's okay. Maybe he should be an A. I'm going to put, you know what? Yeah, maybe, you know what? Astralon probably should be an A. I think because of the stun, he should be an A. Let me be fair. All right, I'll put my Astralon bias away. He should be an A, let's be honest. Halsring then. Halsring, I think, is probably a B tier champion. Maybe C tier. He's good for old Fire Knight. No, he should probably be B tier, just in case they ever add more stuff like Fire Knight with turn meter control being important to the game. He does bring a lot of single target turn meter control and good damage. Probably should go in B tier. Obviously, you know, as when we get better champions and we improve and maybe they nerf Fire Knight hard, I don't know. He becomes less relevant, but he's really good for old Fire Knight. He's quite good for Dark Fae as well. I'll put him in B tier for now. Right, now we've got the 4. We might move him down actually. He might go down into C. Still the Drakes, Operdin, Altan, and Kronam. These are the Barbarian Magic Affinity legendaries. We've got a nice little mix here. Altan, definitely an outdated champion. I think Altan probably goes into the C tier of being, probably not super useful, to be honest, for a lot of people when you pull him. He might be good enough early game. He's good against some Doom Tower bosses, original Demon Lord. He's okay. Syl of the Drakes probably should be B tier, I think, to be fair overall. That's kind of a harsh ranking. I mean, when you get her, right, 6 months in, she's really, really, really good. She does bring a revive. The AoE stun, like she's just been a little bit power crap. She's got good healing. The AoE stun is not the best chance. Her A1 is not the best chance. Her revive is decent, but not crazy. She's just like that champion that brings so much. And she's tanky. She's good for, she's really good for when you get her. But I think when you stack her up against these other legendaries, she is a bit weaker. I don't know. Operdin is definitely like a C tier champ. He brings tons and tons of healing, but that's about it. But he's decent. He brings turn meter and healing. Not bad, but I put him in C. Kronam I would be putting up in the S tier. I think for doing ninja style things, for soloing Sand Devil, soloing Ice Golem. This guy can do some crazy stuff. He's very, very good. Biggin up next, War Mother, and Ignatius, the 3 Ogryn tribes. Not that many of them. Not that many. Biggin is definitely like a B tier. He hits hard, but he's got long cooldowns. Definitely an old school champion, bit power crept. War Mother I'd actually put in B as well. She comes in with the bombs, does really good AoE damage, very similar. And honestly, Ignatius, I do the same. I think all of these are B. Yeah, they're all B tier. Biggin, he does hit hard, but he's got old cooldowns and he's got very low chances to land his skills. War Mother, she's got the bombs that do lots of damage to bosses. She hits hard, but nothing too crazy. And then Ignatius, he has the irresistible burn, which is quite useful. But again, his damage is good, but really long cooldowns. They're just old. They're just old school, honestly, all 3 of these. Lizards up next. We've got Draco, Roxam, and Basatha. Ooh, well, Basatha's terrible. Let's do Basatha first. He's going straight into D tier. I think that champion absolutely sucks. Yeah, he absolutely sucks. He definitely needs some tweaks to him. Make his passive have no cooldown or something like that. Apply to every single revived enemy. I'm not sure. Roxam, C tier for me. Yeah, not a great champion, honestly. Not great. Maybe has some use in Hydra, but not much. And then Dracomorph probably goes up into the A tier for the AoE decreased defense weaken, the poison damage, the single target damage. He's a solid enough champ. Not crazy. Like there's not that much content in the game at the moment where he's super good in. He definitely used to be better. Back in the day, he would have been S tier. Nowadays, I think he's only A tier, but I do think he's good. We've got next Norog, Longbeard, Acorn Smash Lord, and newest champion on the entire list, I believe, is Razelvarg, right? We've just had the Razelvarg fusion finished. Haven't seen any of the new champs properly yet. Norog is pretty bad. C tier at best, possibly D tier is Norog. Really weak champion. He's got a great passive, and the rest of his moves kind of suck, to be honest. Longbeard is solid enough. Longbeard A or B, I think. Ally attack makes you hit harder. Not very useful, though, really, anywhere in the game. I'll put him into B tier just because he's not crazy useful. He's okay for Fire Knight, but not crazy Fire Knight hard with the ally attack. Not crazy, though. Hackhorn, Smash Lord. Again, I put Hackhorn into B. I do think Sathalia is probably a bit better. We might move Sathalia up to A, to be honest. Hackhorn, he does have a really good cleanse and a big heal, but the rest of his moves are very bad. And then Razelvarg, I would put up into A tier. I think he just has good multipliers. His passive is really strong. Just like going fast, actually putting out good damage, good speed aura, good buffs. I think Razelvarg's actually a really solid champion. We've seen a lot of cool teams coming out for Razelvarg, and I think he's going to stand the test of time as well. Orcs is up next. We got quite a mix here. We've got Kreela Tila, Grohak, and Danag. This one's pretty tough. Grohak, first of all, man, does anyone really use Grohak? We'll put him into C tier. He does some, like all of these C tier champions do something, but it's just, it may not ever be useful for you. It's sort of the gist. He does bring some really cool turn meter control stuff, so he may have some use for you on things like Dark Fae, or he may be entirely useless. Kreela up next. Kreela, Kreela, maybe A. I feel like she does bring more than Longbeard overall. I think she's probably a bit better because she brings increased attack. She has an AoE. The ally attack is kind of wonky. It's a random target gets allied attack, so you can't control it. But I'd probably be putting her in A, honestly, just because of the other utility in her kit. I don't know. Am I being too lenient to Kreela and too harsh on Longbeard? Maybe I am. Tila, I think Tila likewise probably goes up into A with the AoE burn and the AoE hex and leech. Puts out continuous heals, AoE as well. So lots of healing for your team. AoE burn and hex as well. I think she extends the burns too. Tila is a good solid one. And then Danag. Danag probably goes into C tier. He's just like a sort of generic nuker, kind of like these, but he has a lot of faction-specific effects against elves, so high elves and dark elves. I actually think, funny enough, with Danag, let me check this. I think he's like the Bane of Elves. Healthy Grudge, Bane of Elves, High Elves, Dark Elves. Now, he doesn't affect the Sylvan Watchers, even though the Sylvan Watchers, a lot of them are probably elves, right? Are they not elves? Like, is this not the most elvish-looking man you've ever seen in your life? Is that not the definition of an elf? But yeah, he doesn't have any bonuses against them. Bummer for him. And bummer for him because he's going into the C tier. He could be good if they ever add like faction-specific stuff into the game. More faction-specific stuff. But right now, Danag is really languishing, waiting for like, you must kill a bunch of elves. Then he'll be good. Until then, he's kind of terrible. All right, next up, we got Prince Kymar, Tyrant Ixelmore, Countess Lix, and no rank Hefrak. Poor old Hefrak, he's got no title. Prince Kymar, he's up in the S tier. There's really no question about this. One of the best champs in the game with the AoE sleep buff strip, and of course the full cooldown reset for your whole team with turn meter boost. Tyrant's one of those sort of B tier champions, I think, as well. He's got the AoE burn, he's got protection for your team, damage reduction, but not crazy useful. He's just like, okay, comes in with an AoE burn. There's epics that do it. Killable clan boss teams is really where he shines, but yeah, I think he's not too crazy. Countess Lix, I think she's probably a B tier champion as well. She brings you lots of AoE crowd control. Really, is what she does. Control, and she does it pretty well. And then Hefrak, I think I do have to put Hefrak up in the S tier. It's just a really big nuker. He hits, in fact, so hard, and he's got a really cool passive. When one of your allies dies, he gets to fire off his big AoE nuke. He also self-buffs. I think he definitely has to go up into S tier for those reasons. Undead Hordes next. We've got Crypt King Grawl, Rotus, the Lost Groom. We've got Saito. Man, a champion no one talks about, Saito. We've got Elagaius, and we have Morrigan, a recent fusion. The Crypt King Grawl, he's definitely A. Maybe he should be S. I'll put him into A, but AoE burns, AoE freeze as well, right? I think Crypt King is just great for soloing kind of the older dungeons, but like, yeah, he's actually really good since his buff. Rotus the Lost Groom. This is a D tier no, it's not. It's an S tier champion. Is there any doubt? Live Arena should just be renamed Rotus the Lost Groom Arena. Let's be honest. This champion is insane. So tanky. Massive single target damage. So many extra turn mechanics. And then, of course, yeah, he's just super tanky with his passive and his A2 stealing max HP. Saito probably goes in the B tier. Fairly generic here. Damage dealer, I would say. Generic damage dealer. He hits hard. But that's about it. I feel like he's kind of similar to these other damage dealers here. Hits hard, but that's sort of it. Elagaius. I'd probably put Elagaius in the D tier, to be honest. He just got buffed, in fact, but he's just not great. He does, you know, in Faction Wars, you might need him. For some Doom Tower waves, you might use him. Maybe he should be in C tier because of that, but most likely, you're probably never going to use Elagaius unless you're super stuck and you're up against a bunch of duplicates and you need to turn off all of their moves at once. Then we've got Morrigan. Morrigan, A or B, probably in the A tier because her speed control is very strong. Like the turn meter boost with increased speed. And then she does have the AoE True Fear as well, decreased speed A1. I think Morrigan is pretty solid. So I'm going to put her up in the A tier. She could arguably be in the B tier. You know, I'd say in particular, maybe Syl the Drakes and Sathalia, people will be looking at and going, oh, I think they're just as good as Morrigan. So we might rejig this a bit. Dark Elves up next. Here we go. We've got Lanicus, we've got Ray, Foley, Knocked the Paralyzer, and Truath. This is a tough one. So Truath for me, Truath is pretty disappointing. Goes into C. I see what they're trying to do with Truath. Bringing in a perfect Veil champion and ally protection, I think for Hydra is what their purpose was. Problem with Truath is Truath then gets True Feared themselves and misses their turns. So it's kind of a big issue. Not a big fan of Truath, to be honest. Knocked the Paralyzer, also not a big fan. I probably put him in B. He does put out a lot of poisons. He does the sleeps. I feel like he was designed for Sand Devil, but I don't think he's actually super useful for it, to be honest. It's easier to just duo it with Godseeker and Ninja, something like that. So I don't know. Or Walking Tomb Dragon and Godseeker. Not super convinced by him. I'll put him into B overall. Foley. I think Foley goes into B, much like Saito. You know, his damage isn't the best, but he's got multi-hits. He does have a block revive and a cool passive. So there's sort of the interesting things about him. The passive, the block revive are pretty good. They could maybe move him up into A. Yeah, you know, I will put him up into A because of that. I'll put him up into A. Ray, I'll put up into A just because she does hit pretty hard. So Ray is going up into the A tier. I think she hits hard, harder than Foley. Yeah, I think that I'm happy enough with both of them up there. And then Lanicus the Chosen. I'm going to put her up into A as well because I just particularly think she's very useful for Hydra. So ally attack, yeah, I think it's just useful. Ally attack with turn meter boost and buff extension. She brings quite a decent chunk in her kit right there. I think it's quite valuable. So yeah, I'm going to put her up there. Sue me. But I actually think Lanicus is great for Hydra in particular and does something that very few other champions can do. Krisk is similar to her for Hydra, but Lanicus is somewhat unique. We've got the Knights Revenant next. Narma, Gaius, Shemnath, and Arik. So some fairly newer ones here. Narma, unfortunately, is going to go into the C tier. She has the Pixneal problem of just needs too many books. Single target poisons, you know. If you get her as your first legendary, she's okay, but she falls off pretty hard apart from that. Gaius, for me, he's definitely going to go into the A tier. Those AoE bombs, blowing up bombs if he dies. He's a great champion. Shemnath, I'm conflicted on. Shemnath could be B or A. I think Shemnath has to be A. Shemnath has a really big nuke, has some kind of nice utility in her kit. I think Shemnath's pretty cool. And then for me, Arix is definitely an A tier champion. I think Arix is super underrated. I've been using Arix a ton for live arena. One of the best HP-based nukers. Definitely not an S tier champion. You know, she's nowhere near as good as Rotos, for example. But honestly, I've got Hefrak and Arix. I actually use Arix more as a nuker in live arena than I use Hefrak. So that says something. It's pretty crazy. Next up, we've got Trunda, Brogni, Herndig, and Goffred representing the Dwarves. Actually, a really good set of legendaries here. Trunda, first of all, I put her in A tier overall. Trunda hits really hard. She's got long cooldowns. So she's a good, solid arena nuker. She hits really hard. Not as hard as like Hefrak. Not as hard as other champs. But still pretty darn good. Yeah, still stands up. And she's great for memeing on lower tiers of Hydra. But mostly she just hits really hard with long cooldowns. Brogni, definitely an S tier champion. Big shields, increased attack, the passive, everything. He is a brilliant champion. Herndig goes into the A tier, I think, as well. I might knock him up into S tier. One thing I love about Herndig is he's got the turn meter control as well, and he's got some of those resets. So for farming Dark Fae, which is super important, farming the hardest version of Dark Fae gives you lethal gear, which is the best damage dealing set in the game currently. He is arguably the best champion for doing that. Well, actually, I guess Acrizia is the best now, but Herndig's really good too for farming up Dark Fae. So that gets him a lot of extra points in my book. I think he probably belongs in A overall. Then we have Goffred Brassclad. This is a difficult one to rank. He brings some good protection, increased defense for your team, AoE stun as well. Now the passive is kind of nifty. I have seen people using him a bit now in live arena. They're starting to bring him in. He probably should go up into A. Probably. He's B or he's A. He's definitely not S. B or A for Goffred. Bit of a tough one. He's definitely not a must use. I'll put him in B for now, but I could, you know, I could definitely see people saying, yo, this guy should be in A. We're going to rejig this because A is quite packed and the others are small, but that's okay too. We've got Jintoro, Lady Kimmy, Ninja, and Michinaki coming in though for the Shadowkin. Very solid set of champions here again. I'd be putting Jintoro in the B tier. He's a great damage dealer for Demon Lord Clan Boss. And that's about it. Not bad for Dark Fae as well, but that's kind of it. Doesn't do too much else. Lady Kimmy, I will be putting up in the S tier, I think, for turn meter control and that increased accuracy, increased speed. Razzlevarg is somewhat similar. I do give the edge slightly to Lady Kimmy, though, because she does have a bit of a buff strip. Turn meter boost, I think, for, going first in arena and enabling bomb champions and debuffers and stuff. Not super meta right now with Polymorph, but I think Lady Kimmy is just really good for that. Ninja is definitely an S tier champion as well. Build him super tanky, and he just rips through stuff with that HP burn and explosions. Michinaki. Michinaki, this is a tricky one because he's like Hydra only, but he's basically the best damage dealer for Hydra. That's not a Void. That's not a Chrysia. He's the best damage dealer. So he has to go into S tier, right? Yeah, Michinaki, he's kind of nuts. Super good champion. And we have Elva, King Galkabar, and he brings tons of utility as well. And Oella, the newest faction, Sylvan Watchers. I definitely feel like these newer factions, Shadowkin and Sylvan Watchers, are doing pretty well here. For me, Elva is definitely S tier. Mini Sifi in a lot of ways. Yeah, nice short cooldowns, great buffs, very tanky. She's insane as well for, duoing, Hard Dragon, duoing, Ice Golem, all that sort of stuff. King Galkabar, probably B tier. Doesn't seem super useful for most stuff. Like, he seems like a decent healer and cleanser. Maybe he should be an A tier. Let me double check his kit. Galkabar. Never really seen anyone use this guy. He does have a good cleanse on a 3-turn with continuous heals and shield. Okay, actually, this pretty good cleanse. He's definitely better than B. He should be an A. Yeah, I think he's an A tier champion with that cleanse. He does have buff strip as well. Just gets a bit awkward to build him like tanky, but also have enough accuracy. He should definitely be A. He's definitely an A tier champ. And then finally, for the Magic friends here, we have Oella. You guys know I'm a huge Oella fan. I actually think Oella, she's certainly A tier, maybe S tier. A or S. I might put her in the A tier just because she is difficult to build around, and you kind of need to build a team specifically for Oella. But yeah, man, she's certainly A. There's no, I know a lot of other people will probably be putting her in like B or C, and I think that's so absurd. She's arguably S, definitely A. Is my opinion on Oella. And there we go. Let me take a quick glance through this. Is anything that's a bit crazy? Maybe Rhonda is rated a bit high. Actually, Rhonda is rated a bit high. I'm going to put Rhonda down into A. Great champion, and she does bring. I think she's an A tier champion. So where is Rhonda? Looking at that, doesn't look quite right to me. She's here. Download number 5. Rhonda, I'm going to put into the A tier. Okay. I do think Elenarl, Cronam, Kymar, Hefrak, yeah. Rotus, definitely. Hefrak is the one people might debate. They might debate Kimmy, but I think all the others are pretty strong contenders to absolutely be S tier. A tier is like a good, solid set of champions here as well. I think that looks good. People might want to put Trunda up into S, but I think she's only A nowadays. Yeah, a lot of these are great champions that could be absolutely huge for your account if you got them. They could be great. Yeah, okay, that looks good. B tier. B tier is maybe controversial. I mean, these are good champs, though. I definitely think that Goffred, Syl, Cythalia being in B tier is maybe a bit controversial. But yeah, I mean, these B tier champions, they're all pretty good. I guess so some of the exceptions, I'm not sure about Killian. And Haldsring is definitely maybe a bit old news at this point. He might not be any good anymore with, new Fire Knight. We'll see. That one's a bit of a question mark. Noct is a bit of a question mark as well, though he does have a good kit. But yeah, B tier are these are champions with good uses. They're decent, but they're, they might be champions that you just never really use. You don't use much. They might sit there kind of unused, or you might use them and find them really good. C tier, again, looks like kind of very niche, very specific. You might use them early game. You might have a specific team. Like I've got a specific team for Champ Fort, and he's great for that, but not great for much else. That seems fair. And then D tier, these are champions that you could easily never use and never cry about it. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with this. I think this looks all right. Let me know what you think. Have I absolutely shocked and offended you? Am I wrong in every way, shape, or form? Tier lists are always a fun video to make because, It's one of those things. I feel like there's a lot of people watch tier lists and you just want to see your own opinion reflected in the tier list, and your enjoyment of the video and your perception of how good the video is almost entirely dependent on how well it reflects your own opinion of the champions. But yeah, I think I'm fairly all right with this. I think this somewhat reflects well enough how I'd feel about shard pools. And I've already explained the sort of exceptions there. But there we go. Thank you for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed. I will see you all next time for Spirit Affinity, probably. Bye.